Ooh, I'm all excited about this one. So I went to I saw Midsommar. It's a horror film that I've been really meaning to see for a long time because I knew I'd like it, and I liked it so much I ended up taking a dozen notes. Like 1.5 pages. I don't usually. That isn't usual practice for me when I'm watching a film, but this required it. Like the autistic part of my brain kept picking out things and being like, oh, that's why it's successful here and there, and oh my gosh, this would be amazing if more films did stuff like this. So start off straight from the bat, it's just really well made. Loads of elements came together to make it a really successful film. And we're just going to go through the notes. So the first word is just beautiful. It is stunning. The visuals throughout are stunning. The location that they managed to set it all in. All these stark contrasts between the sort of dim, dingy city that it starts in to the almost ethereal, and the location that the cult is in gets substantially more ethereal as you go on, as the main character dives sort of deeper and deeper into this wildness. I've put raw because oh my god, it is. It really is. It doesn't pull any punches. The situation at the beginning is really heart-wrenching, really heart-wrenching, and it's also sort of devastating because you've got the main character trying to raise alarms about her severely bipolar sister, but because the sister has, created so many incidents in the past, it's almost like a I won't say boy who cries wolf situation, but a situation where people have grown fatigued with reacting with the same amount of urgency as maybe they did the first few times. So they think that whatever spiral the sister's on isn't going to end as seriously as the main character really suspects it will do. And it's devastating because the sister winds up not only killing herself but also killing both of their parents. Obviously in a horrifically devastating blow for the main character, really fucks her up in the head, and she wasn't all there to begin with. She already had a lot of issues right at the start. She was very, very insecure, very resistant to outside help, to leaning on people, to being seen as a burden, which I theorize, probably came from growing up with her bipolar sister. Maybe she saw sort of the strain or and burden is an unkind word for it, but the strain that her sister's condition put on the family, and she just became sort of herself psychologically hyper averse to ever sort of entering into that kind of status in someone else's life. That's just me riffing though. I put in harsh editing contrast because oh my god, it was absolutely beautiful. It was beautiful. You'd have this really ethereal scene and then it would jam straight into something really that like assaults the senses for just a moment, not in an obnoxious way, in a whoa, okay, so we're doing that now, right? Got it, adjusted. I didn't for a tiny second there, and that fucked me up a little bit. It's a really fucking phenomenal film. I honestly can't overstate that. But loads of the next one is like cool camera angles, and oh my god, yes. It had so much of that. The videography was stunning in this movie. Fucking stunning. It has to be said. It really does. I've got engaging, which clearly it was. It pulls you in immediately. There isn't like a calm sort of ramping up of the story, just like immediately you're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? Oh shit, what's this? Ah, no, wait, hold on. Like, no, I have to find out what that is. Oh no, but what's going on here? Oh, that's a good question. I wonder whether that's going to be answered later on in the film. It keeps your mind in perpetual motion throughout the film, and I fucking love that. So it was written by someone who really knew what they were doing, who knew the ins and outs of how to engage the audience. The next one is disorienting. I get motion sick in cars, and I get what they call gaming sickness, which is motion sickness when you're something about your eyes being able to see the movement on the screen, but your body knowing that it's not moving. That disconnect is what sort of fucks you up into motion sickness. And I only get that in games when the camera is too liberal, when it like swirls too fast or too easily, sort of thing. I have to kind of set it quite low on the responsiveness. And there are some games that are just really difficult to play, full stop. But there were a couple of scenes where the camera did something really, really cool, and it looked beautiful and wonderful. But it was disorienting. And in general, psychologically disorienting is a really good way to describe the whole film, because, oh my god, there is no anchor that you will be able to remain attached to throughout the film. In the mushroom scene. Oh god. Okay, so quite near the beginning of the film, all the friends that are heading out to the cult, they're all kind of hippie-ish, you know. So they're off in a field before they go to the proper cult location, and they all decide to take mushrooms. And there's some real... Oh, no, I liked that scene a lot, because the subtleness of the little distortions that they put in there were beautiful. They were really beautiful. It would be just like ever so slightly, you'd start hearing the voices around them distort in a way where you weren't sure whether it was actually happening, and that put you straight into the fucking shoes of the main character, who is literally high and literally can't tell which of these things is happening and which isn't. So, oh, that was really smart. The audio engineering is fucking amazing, and that is literally the next point. Epic audio editing. It really was. I've put deeply uncomfortable and tense throughout. Yes. No. It's like the sheer amount of different types of uncomfortable that this film covers are phenomenal. They are absolutely phenomenal. I would have listed them off, but I would have probably, left off like 20 of them. It covers so many different bases, and it does it so well. It like seamlessly like knits it all together to create this whole situation that's just 17 different shades of nope. You know what I mean? The next one is weaponizes social cringe. Oh god, yes. One of the deeply uncomfortable aspects that it leans on heavily is really, really awkward social faux pas, situations where, like, my stomach goes a bit tight watching it, you know, when you get that, like, secondhand cringe watching something. And it's just, it's done well. It's done well in a way where you're like, oh, no, not this now, please. You're like begging the film for mercy by that point. Oh yeah, something that was quite smart that it did, because this cult is in Sweden, the cult members speak Swedish, so there's this Swedish language barrier that puts physical barrier between the audience and the main character and their friends, and the cult members who actually know what's going on. Like, they'll talk to each other in Swedish, and throughout the film, I found myself just really wishing that I knew what those people were saying. And that was the exact same emotion that the main characters were feeling at the time. So it locked us into the same box again. It's one of these really smart ways and kind of subtle ways that they put us directly into the shoes of the main characters, and it was really fucking cool. I've put down shock tactics. Yeah, there were a couple of scenes that will sort of take your breath away a little bit. Like I'm just gonna call it the elderly suicide, the elderly dual suicide, is a bit grimy. Like, you know it's gonna happen. You know for a little bit before it does that it is going to happen. It's quite obvious. And whilst I feel like many films would either go overboard on the gore afterwards, or would cut away and just cut to the main characters freaking out as a way to show the impact of the scene, they really showed what seemed to be hyper-realistic, actual sort of ways that your body would break in that specific scenario. And it was gory. It was gory and kind of and more shocked. I have a feeling, I have a strong feeling that, no, I'm going to leave that for later because I've just seen it later down on the list, but that also requires talking about. We need to talk about it, okay? Unpredictable characters. Yes, like it really capitalized on that, on this fact that you could never really tell what any of the characters were going to do next, and it left this really kind of uneasy feeling. Like, you know, humans like being able to predict the world around them, and if you've got one person that you can't really predict, that's quite bad, but you've got other places that you can go to. When they're locked into this sort of cult environment, no one is predictable, like not even the main characters themselves by the end. And it just blew my mind with how well that was used, because it just constantly keeps you guessing and guessing and guessing, and most of your guesses are wrong, and you're like, oh shit, this is quite exciting actually. I have literally no idea what's about to happen now, because it's you know, like a fictional cult, and the mind goes nuts when you start thinking about cults, because they can take millions of different forms, absolutely fucking millions. There's very, very few ways to predict what illogical minds will latch on to next. I've put in clues and tapestries. This is something that I saw a video on months ago when they were sort of reviewing the film, and I think it was What Culture Horror. So quick shout out to them. They've got a YouTube and it's fucking amazing. They're the ones who first, I found out about the film first through them, but it took me a long time to actually get around to watching it. But they were talking about how there were loads of clues in the tapestries in the background, that the tapestries basically showed what was going to happen. But you'd only really notice it on the sort of second time of watching it, and you'd look in the background and you'd be like, oh shit, is that depicting that? And, you know, scene X sort of thing. And the only tapestry that I kind of clocked onto and saw for what it was that was cool. That kept in the back of my mind throughout the film, and it didn't happen until right at the very end. But I'm not going to explain Psychachu because I think it's quite a fun game trying to figure them out as you go along. Disturbing art. Yeah, I think this must have been when they were looking through the sort of cult book. It's almost like a revered cult Bible. Like every one of the cult elders or leaders sort of seems to add to the book. So it's this perpetually growing volume, and there's apparently like dozens of like previous books. So this is just the latest in the long line of them. And they were flicking through it briefly, and really cool ass disturbing art. So I would love to learn more about the artist who created them for the film, because that was fucking awesome. Disconnected contrasts, uncomfortable. Yeah, okay, so yeah, the contrast, the use of psychological videographical and audio audible audio contrasts were just like phenomenal. There were a really strong statement throughout the film, and so many of them connected together like beautiful, calm, ethereal moments to horrifying ones, and vice versa. Like it would cut instantly between the two, leaving the brain sort of no time to adjust. You had to run catch up, which kept your mind a lot more active because you were constantly thinking, oh shit, okay, new situation, all right, I'm acclimatized, let's go, sort of thing. There was no slow slide into different things apart from the general slow slide of the main character into like madness, I suppose would be one word for it. I don't really know. Ooh, cultural foreigners I've put next. Yes. The sort of heavy feeling that you get is that you are just foreign to this cult environment, to the Swedish environment, to the Swedish culture, to the cult culture, and there's sort of nothing that you can really do to become a true part of that, because you are literally just an outsider, and it kind of almost weaponizes this feeling against you. It's this really uncomfortable feeling of being surrounded by something that you're not a part of, almost being trapped within something that you are just not a part of. That's just, it's uncomfortable, and they play it really, really well. I put hard to watch because I'm not gonna lie, at times it kind of is. It kind of is. I'm not sure which scene caused me to write that. The next point is the scenery is so beautiful it distracts from the focal point, but, and this is underlined, that's okay. So I noticed this a couple of times where the scenery would be really beautiful, and then I'd be checking it out, and then I'd suddenly realise that, oh shit, actually something's happening over there. So that's where the focus is. That's what I'm supposed to be looking at. But this scene, the videography is so stellar that it kind of distracted me from that for a moment, and I liked it because I didn't miss anything through that. I didn't miss any parts of the story or anything that happened, but it really strongly makes you appreciate the like the videography is just strong throughout. I did not detect any weak portions of videography in this epic film. The next one is reality unstable. Yes. Okay. So it starts right at the beginning. It starts with the bipolar sister with the heart-wrenching, difficult to watch grief scene, and it never really sort of like it only gets substantially worse. It gets more and more unhinged as you go along. The mushrooms, it's a hard scene, the mushrooms, but it is nothing compared to later scenes, and it just gets more and more and more unhinged as you go along, just whirling sort of faster and faster into what the fuck is this territory. And yeah, reality is not stable. Reality doesn't even exist by the end. I don't know. I didn't know what to do after I watched this movie. I got to the credits, I clicked it off, and I just kind of sat there for like 10 seconds going, oh, what now? It breaks all social rules. It does. Very, very consistently. A part of my brain didn't like that. A part of many humans' brains will not like that. But, yes. The next one you'll only really notice, I suppose, if you watch it in a cinema, or you have surround sound speakers, or you watch it with headphones. Because it pans the music in a really cool, effective way. And this is more like of the high audio editing. High class. So, but it makes a really cool difference, because it adds to the disjointed and at times sort of trippy nature of the whole film. So it really does add something if you have the ability to hear it from both sides and in the centre. Let me see, music panning. No distracting makeup. Yeah, I noticed this about halfway through, that obviously it's a film, that they're obviously going to be wearing some kind of stage makeup, but it is extraordinarily minimal, to the point where it looks, for all purposes, that no one's wearing any makeup at all. And I really liked that. It kind of made everyone a lot more genuine, a lot more raw, a lot more just people being people. Like there wasn't really anyone out there trying to impress anyone. It really wasn't about the external look of anyone. I mean, all the cult members sort of dressed the same. And the only sort of thing that everyone was projecting was the internal stuff, the psychology, the cult mentality, no, it was cool. It was subtle. I literally didn't notice until about halfway through, and I thought, oh shit, hold on. But it was a smart move on the film's part, a very smart move. Oh, I put down the breathing flowers on the crown. This is possibly one of my favourite parts of the film. It was quite near the end, and the main character had been crowned the May Queen, and she had this really big sort of crown of flowers, really extravagant, cool, natural, beautiful. And as she's sitting at the table staring into sort of blank space, I genuinely thought that I hallucinated it for a second, but the flowers suddenly slowly start opening and closing in really subtle ways, and you start to realise that the flowers are literally breathing on top of her head, and it is beautiful and cool and starts wonderfully subtle in a way that kind of makes you question your sanity, and I love that so fucking much. Cannot be overstated how good this movie is. I'm fucking serious. Crazy juxtaposition of beautiful and ugly. Yes, and by ugly, I'm not being a dick. Um, I mean, things that are difficult to look at and things that are mesmerizing to look at. It constantly contrasts, cuts between those two in a really kind of fucking cool way. I've put most music played by actual characters. Okay, so yeah, they do have film score in the background at times, but a lot of the times you'll think it's film score, and then the camera will pan round, and it's actually just the cult members like singing or playing their instruments. And I really liked that. I liked that because the music was brought directly into the film itself. Put straight in the hands of the characters, so it became part of them, of their entire character. Okay, yeah, here we are. Wildly uncomfortable sex. There is one sex scene in the film, and it is genuinely quite horrifying. Absolutely horrifying, actually. It cuts into almost every one of the uncomfortable or different ways of being uncomfortable, of making someone uncomfortable that there even is out there. Oh my god, I found that really hard. And because my kid was in the house and she had her mate over, I was obviously had it all on headphones, but it was on the screen, and that was the only scene in which I thought, oh god, please don't come in to ask for something right now. Please don't, because there is no way I can explain what the fuck I'm seeing on screen right now to a kid. That would not be okay. You're talking like unlocked childhood trauma territory. But thankfully that didn't happen. Thankfully not. I put feel happy for Danny when she switches. Yeah, okay. So the other characters, they're there, and you do care about them a little bit, but not as much. There's a main girl, the one who becomes the May Queen, and there's her boyfriend, and her boyfriend is a dick, and he's played as a dick right from the start. He is played specifically to have no redeeming qualities. Like, every time at which the character would have an opportunity to redeem himself in the eyes of the audience, he very much chose the other option. So you like him less and less and less as the film goes on. And part of his girlfriend, the main girl, sort of switching, like joining the cult proper, is that he has to go. And honestly, like, kind of very little sympathy for him by that point. And you're kind of happy for the girl because it's really not a great relationship at all, to be honest. At all. And I know that the answer for that is not fucking death at the hands of a psychotic cult, but within the film, it's fine. Okay, it's fine. We justify it in the film. But yeah, no. By the end, the main character, Danny, just seems almost like made for the role that she's been given. Like, it seems right. Like, by the end, you just kind of want to, yeah, you go, babe. You go join that cult, babe. You know? It gives a weird taste in the mouth afterwards. Next one is capital letters. Amazing! Panic attack scene. OMG! Yeah, no, that was very cool. So the main girl, Danny, is having an epic panic attack. Like, I'm talking like on the floor, unable to breathe properly, screaming, like just crying uncontrollably, like high end of panic attack. And all the other girls of the cult are like desperately trying to connect with her. Like, they desperately want to be connected to her. They've sort of risen her to a godlike status in a way. So they start mimicking her sounds. And the main girl is like, what the fuck? What is happening? But she really doesn't have the the air, the effort, the emotional energy to stop them from doing this. So she just keeps on, making all of her crazy sounds, and they sync up and get louder and louder, and it just it passes to a level of like, I want to call it meticulously orchestrated insanity. It is like, you have to see it to believe it, but it's kind of beautiful and crazy at the same time. It really is quite cool. The next one is finding the missing people is awesome. Yeah, loads of the main characters' friends just like disappear, and every time someone stops being in the scenes, you do know they're dead. There's no kind of, oh, la la la, maybe they're just over picking daisies in that field over there. Nah, they're dead. They're definitely dead. Absolutely, definitely. But actually finding them and finding what this crazy nature-based cult has done with the bodies, and trying to figure out, like, why or why that was done with the bodies in the first place. Like, a lot of them, it isn't explained, because by that point there aren't any main characters left who the cult deem worthy of explaining themselves to. So you're left with a lot of questions about the traditions of the sort of every 90-year event that the cult is holding at that time. Harrowing and beautiful at the same time. I mean, throughout, absolutely throughout. That's, I think we talked quite a lot about that. Christian's death, wow. Okay, so that's the boyfriend that I was talking about. The one we don't really mind dying inside the film. Yeah, so at one point, like a bear is skinned, and the boyfriend is paralyzed and placed inside the bear suit, the literal skin of the bear, which is skinned with, like, average sort of skill. There's still a lot of, like, stuff. So it's a little bit, like, grimy. But he's paralyzed. He can't do jack shit about it. And then he's put in a sort of ceremonial pyramid-like wooden sort of construction, to be burnt to death with several of the cult members, and possibly some of his friends. I blanking on that right now, sorry. One of the cult members is given something, like a leaf or something, by his fellow cult members, and he's, it's handed over, and it's told in it, and the member has told him that he will feel no pain because of this, and then another one is handed a different leaf and said that he will feel no fear. And you I don't know whether this is just me, whether I'm naive, but I believed that. So it was horrifying when the flames started and the guy who said that he would feel no pain started screaming, and you're like, oh god, oh no, oh shit, this is gonna be as fucking raw as the entire rest of the film. And it is, and it's unresolved. Like, the whole thing is unresolved. You have so many fucking questions afterwards, and you are none the wiser on what the fuck happens next. None the wiser. You know, the main girl is gonna carry on with the cult. Everyone else is fucking dead. But nothing. I mean, they're just gonna disappear off into the mountains or the fields or something like that, and send some of their cult members out to go rope in more people, like what happened to this group. And that's it. Like, no resolving of the situation at all. It's just gonna continue. That's fine. That's fine, I suppose. But yeah. So that's Midsommar. It's an interesting one. I could not actually recommend this more, and I don't care how long this. I'm seeing it's saying 35 minutes on the timer, and I don't care. I might not even edit this because I think you need it in full. And this is, that was Midsommar. So have fun with that, and ciao.